My ex-wife walked up to me and told me that my son has to give her daughters $500 each if he wants to maintain the bond with them. You know, since they're half-siblings. I thought she lost her marbles. You want my young son to pay an allowance to your daughters just so he can hang out with them? I tried to tell my husband what's going on, but you won't believe this, he thinks that she has a point. I'm a 29-year-old woman, married to a wonderful man. We've been together for 7 years, and I have a 5-year-old son. My husband has 2 teenage daughters from a previous marriage, and their mother, Paula, has been in our lives from the beginning, unfortunately, not in a very positive way. Paula is very hands-on, even though she and my husband split up over a decade ago. She's still involved in everything, to say the least, and her influence is often challenging for us. My husband is very generous with all of his child support and even gives extra for Paula's expenses since she doesn't work. It's important to him that his daughter is supported, and he tries his best to help, even beyond legal obligations. Yet, no matter what we do, Paula is never grateful. She's always complaining and pushing for more. She constantly criticizes us and seems to look for ways to complicate our co-parenting. For context, my husband and I have always tried to encourage a good relationship between our son and his older half-sisters. We arranged family outings, spent time together as a group, and genuinely wanted the siblings to feel close, despite the age gap. But Paula seems to find ways to complicate things every time. She has very specific expectations on how we should go about doing this, often making unrealistic demands and stirring up a bit of drama. I'd say Paula's latest demands have taken things to a whole new level of absurdity. She recently approached me with what she called a "wait for the kids to bond" idea. She thinks my 5-year-old son should give each of his teenage half-sisters $500. She claims it's a symbolic gesture, a way to show respect and worthiness as a family member. At first, I thought she was joking, it sounds like a prank, but she was completely serious. In Paula's mind, my son has to earn his place and by giving his sisters money. When I questioned this, she started talking about how grand gestures are important to prove family bonds. According to her, this is the only way for my son to show his commitment to his sisters, which she thinks is necessary for them to accept him. Now, I know kids often look up to older siblings and want to show them love, but we're talking about a 5-year-old here. My son is still learning how to tie his shoes and ride a bicycle. He barely understands the concept of money, let alone what $500 means. But Coppola insists that this is an important part of blending our families and that we're failing our children by not going along with it. Okay, well, I tried reasoning with Paula, explaining that our son is too young to comprehend any of this and honestly, it's an inappropriate expectation. But she would not hear it. She just kept pushing the point, saying things like, if he's going to be a part of this family, he needs to start showing a bit of respect. She implied that if we didn't like this, it would be a sign that we don't really care about creating harmony among the siblings. She's essentially framing my 5-year-old as an outsider who has to pay a fee to belong to his own family. When I told my husband, thankfully, he was on the same page as me, he found the whole thing just to be absurd and as inappropriate as I did. He told Paula outright that we would not be entertaining this idea, and that's when things took a turn for the absolute worse. Paula started calling us selfish and said that we were setting a bad example for our son by not teaching him the importance of generosity and family values. Since then, Paula has not let this go. She's been telling my husband's daughter about it, twisting the story so it sounds like their own brother doesn't care enough about them to give them a gift. The girls are young and impressionable, and I just worry that Paula is planting these seeds of resentment. Now, they seem to believe that their younger brother owes them something to prove his love. It's heartbreaking. I genuinely feel like Paula is weaponizing family relationships to get what she wants, without regard for the damage she might be causing. I've also noticed that Paula has started turning mutual friends and family members against us. She's been saying that we're being stingy and selfish and that we're refusing to celebrate his sisters by making this entire gesture. She makes it sound like we're denying the girls something that's rightfully theirs, and people who don't know the full story are starting to take her side. It feels incredibly unfair. To make matters worse, Paula started bringing this up at every opportunity. Anytime there's a family gathering or group text, she's casually mentioning that it's too bad our son doesn't care enough to show his sisters respect. It's gotten so bad that I dread any situation where Paula might be around because I know that she'll bring it up, and each time it feels like she's deliberately trying to make us feel guilty for not going along with her bizarre expectations. I've even tried reaching out to my husband's daughter directly, hoping to explain in a way they could understand. I didn't want to undermine their mother, but I also wanted them to see that we were truly caring about their relationship with their brother and that love doesn't have to come with a price tag. In truth, I desperately want all the kids to get along and to feel like they're part of the same family. I want my son to grow up feeling loved and supported by his siblings, but I also don't want him to feel like he has to earn his place, with money and gifts and stuff. To me, a family bond should be about love, shared experience, and mutual respect, not financial transactions. How is a 5-year-old supposed to prove his worth to his family with money? Paula seems incapable of understanding this, though. She keeps framing it as though we're the ones standing in the way of our kids' relationships by refusing to invest in them financially. I feel like I'm losing my mind trying to explain to her that no amount of money will make siblings care about each other. Relationship takes time and genuine interactions. My husband agrees, but even he's getting worn down by Paula's incessant demands and complaints. What makes this even harder is that Paula genuinely seems to believe that she's in the right. In her mind, it's as if we're being stingy and withholding an important experience from the kids. She says that if my son doesn't make this gesture now, his relationship with his sister will never be the same. She's been pushing this narrative so convincingly that I can't help but worry. What if the girls do resent their brother over this? What if Paula's influence makes it impossible for them to see past her manipulative tactics? It breaks my heart because my son is too young to understand any of this, but Paula's actions could have a lasting impact on his relationship with his sisters. I'm at my wit's end. Part of me wonders if I should just give in and try to smooth things over, but another part of me is furious at the idea of letting Paula control our lives like this. My husband and I are completely stuck. We've tried to ignore Paula's demands, but she's made it nearly impossible by rallying friends and family against us. Even if we manage to shut her down on this issue, I know there'll just be another demand down the line, another way she'll try to manipulate us and the kids. It feels like a never-ending cycle. So, am I the a-hole for standing my ground and refusing to make my 5-year-old son place in the family by getting his half-sister $500 each? Is there something I'm missing, or is Paula's expectation just as out of line as it feels? I'll let you guys leave it down below. Update number 1, just to clarify a few things that have come up in the comments. Our finances are stable, but a $1,000 gift for this purpose is excessive and out of line with our values. We prefer to teach our son about kindness and family bonds in other ways. The girls are sweet kids and generally get along well with their brother, so I'm hopeful that they won't make a fuss if we don't just agree to this ridiculous requirement for their mom. Anyways, let me give you guys another update after what's turned out to be a pretty rough weekend. My husband's daughter came over as planned, but from the moment they arrived, they were full of excitement about the gift they believed their little brother would be giving them. They kept bringing it up, asking when they'd get their $500 each and making plans for what they'd spend it on. They even said it better be, well, if we just gave them cash so they could do whatever they wanted with it. Apparently, they'd already told their friends at school about the whole thing, as if it were some family tradition that my son was expecting to fulfill. I tried to explain gently, hoping to steer the conversation toward the alternate plans we suggested. I mentioned how it would be funny to spend time together as a family and maybe do something memorable instead of giving out cash, especially considering their little brother's age and limited understanding. But it quickly became clear they had no interest in hearing any of it. They dismissed my suggestion and said, I didn't understand family traditions. It was clear Paula had hyped this up so much that they were dead set on the idea that a cash gift was necessary to prove my son's place in the family. Well, things got tense pretty quick. The girls were resisting and began to act out, ignoring anything I said that wasn't directly related to the gift. As I tried to explain the situation, they turned defensive and started saying that I was being unfair. They even called me an evil stepmother, accusing me of trying to stop them from having a bond with their brother. I couldn't believe how they were behaving, but it was obvious that they had completely bought into Paula's narrative. It felt like I was hitting a wall. No matter what I said, they weren't willing to listen. When my husband got home, the girls ran to him, recounting their version of events. Today, they told him that I scolded them and made it sound as though I'd been unkind for no reason. I tried to explain the whole situation to my husband, but it seemed more disappointing than anything else. He told me I should have handled it differently and accused me of overreacting, even though I was just trying to manage the chaos that Paula had stirred up. Since then, things have been icy between us. My husband and I haven't spoken much over the past 2 days, and I feel like I'm left dealing with the mess alone. I'm starting to wonder if he's even going to see how damaging Paula's influences are on the family dynamics, or if he'll continue to take the path of least resistance, just to keep the peace. At this point, I'm not even sure what the next step is. I'm heartbroken that our attempts to create a positive relationship between my son and his half-sisters have been undermined like this, and I feel increasingly isolated. It's as if Paula's manipulations have turned my husband's daughter against me, and my son and I are left wondering if this is the reality I'll have to accept in our blended family. I'll update you. Update 2, thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. I wanted to give an update because things have somehow gotten even more complicated after what went on last week. I was pretty tense and nervous, and Paula has now stooped to new levels. She's planned a big event, and I don't understand why she was inviting all of her friends and extended family, and even bragged about the gift her daughters are going to receive from their brothers. I'm literally spiraling. The event is approaching, and there's no way I can afford this much, and even if I could, this is just straight up ridiculous. The good news is, Owen, my husband, is finally talking to me. He's a reasonable man, but he just gets a little touchy when it comes to his own children. Sometimes, he even feels guilty that his daughter has to experience parenting like this. He's just overly kind and considerate, and that's why, when things like that happen, I don't take it to heart. Especially after how nice and loving he spent to me and our son. We talked and decided to talk to Paula about an idea we had discussed before. I called Paula and suggested that instead of our 5-year-old son giving his sister cash, we could plan some fun bonding activities as a family. I don't know, maybe take a day trip, movie night, or something that would actually help the kids build a relationship. But Paula was not having it. She said anything less than $500 a week was an insult to her daughter and would only prove that we didn't value them. He even took the daughter out for dinner and explained that maybe they could all do something together instead, something memorable that actually includes our son in a way he can understand. But by now, they're so wrapped up in Paula's story that they aren't interested. They don't see this as just money anymore, they think it's a symbol of respect and family bonds that they are owed. You know, the worst part is that when Owen came back from their dinner, he was angry because apparently, they had misbehaved with him too. It's heartbreaking to see how deeply they've internalized their mom's idea. I honestly feel terrible for them because they've even been manipulating in all this too. I told Owen to straight up tell Paula that we can't do it and that if she continues this stupid demand, she'll lose the child support money too. Obviously, the extra my husband was paying her all this while, well, I didn't mean it literally. It was just a scare tactic for Paula to bring her to her senses. But Owen straight up refused and called me ridiculous. I love my husband, and he's been supporting and trying to shield me from Paula's antics, but he struggles to put his foot down with her. He's afraid of making things worse with his daughters, but I'm stuck in the middle, and it feels like no one's fully standing up for us as a family. My husband's compromised approach is just making me feel like we're catering to Paula's unreasonable demands. The most frustrating part is that I feel like I'm losing ground with my husband's daughter. They're sweet kids, I really want a positive relationship with them, but Paula has created such a hostile environment around this situation that it's impossible to connect with them genuinely. Every time I try to talk to them, they just bring up the gift and how important it is to them that their brother proves he cares. At this point, I'm not sure what to do. My husband says that he'll talk to Paula again, but we've already seen how well that goes. She's only doubling down on her demands, and now that the girls are expecting this, any alternative is going to feel like a letdown to them. I just want our kids to feel like siblings without all these bizarre demands and expectations in the way. Update number 3, well, you won't believe what I just found out about Paula. I honestly don't even know where to begin, but I have to tell you what I've discovered. You won't believe what I found out. I can't decide if I'm relieved to have figured this out, completely, well, but I'm furious that I was kept in the dark for so long. So, after everything that's been going on with Paula's ridiculous demand, I couldn't shake the feeling that Paula was up to something, and I needed answers. I began digging around, starting with Facebook. I know it's a long shot, but I saw that my friend Maya had a mutual friend with Paula, and my curiosity got the better of me. I reached out to Maya and asked if she could share any single information about Paula that might help me understand what is going on. To my surprise, Maya actually had some pretty useful info. She gave me the contact details of one of Paula's old friends, George, who she might have a history with. I was nervous, but I decided to reach out to George. When we met in person, he seemed surprised to hear that Paula's daughters were my husband's. He actually said, "Wait, those girls. They're not from your husband, they're from Frederick." At first, I thought maybe I misheard him, but he explained further, and it turns out that Paula had convinced him that the daughters were Frederick's, one of her ex-boyfriends. I was already starting to feel the pieces of the puzzle click into place, but it didn't stop there. George and I began to dig deep into what we've uncovered, and it completely blew my mind. Apparently, Paula had done this for years. She had convinced 2 other men, both now married, that they were the fathers of her teenage daughters. She managed to make them believe that they were supporting their own children through family traditions that only seemed to exist in her mind. Every time one of these men sent money, believing it was for their daughters, Paula accepted it without a hesitation in the world. This whole thing was starting to feel like an elaborate scam, and I had to find out more. George was just as shocked as I was when we uncovered this information. It turns out Paula had carefully manipulated everyone into thinking that she was running some sort of family tradition and had been taking advantage of her ex-boyfriend for years. Every man involved thought that they were supporting their own daughters, and Paula had somehow convinced them that giving money for these gifts was just a part of what it meant to be a family. At this point, I was absolutely stunned. I'd been so wrapped up in the idea that this was about keeping the peace with my husband and his ex, but it became clear that Paula had been running some kind of long-term con, using these so-called family traditions to get financial support. It was beyond manipulation, and it made me question everything I thought I knew about her. I wasn't sure how to even begin confronting my husband with this information, so I started thinking about other ways to confirm it. I began to wonder, how can I be sure that Paula's daughters are actually my husband's, given everything I just found out? I think it might be time to get some concrete evidence. I want to know for sure if these girls are truly his biological children or if Paula has been pulling the wool over his eyes this entire time. Well, I know this is a huge step, but I'm seriously considering having a DNA test done. I'm asking you all, though, is it okay if I secretly conduct a DNA test? I feel like this could clear up everything, but I also don't want to make things worse between me and my husband if he finds out I went behind his back. I just feel like I need to know the truth before I can make any more decisions. What do you all think? Should I do it? Should I confront Paula first or go straight to a test? I'm at a crossroads, and I'm not really sure what to do next. Please, any advice would be super helpful right now. Update number 4. Okay, brace yourselves, because this update is absolutely wild, and I honestly can't believe I'm typing this right now. It feels like I'm something straight out of a soap opera, but unfortunately, it's actually my life. After my last post, I knew I had to get answers, even if it meant doing something that felt underhanded. I couldn't live with the doubt any longer, and I had a sinking feeling that Paula had been playing us for fools. So, with a lot of hesitation and after talking it over with a trusted friend, I secretly arranged for a DNA test to be done on Paula's daughters. I didn't want to involve my husband in this until I had proof. If the results confirmed my suspicion, I knew what I would do. I would confront Paula directly. The test results came in last week, and they confirmed what I feared: neither of Paula's daughters is my husband's biological kid. I was in shock for hours, honestly. I still can't wrap my head around how Paula had pulled this off for so many years, manipulating not only my husband but also the other two men she had roped into this scam. I immediately knew I could not keep this information to myself, but I had to figure out the best way to go about this. Finally, the day of the big event arrived. Paula was expecting gifts worth $500, but what I was about to give was enough to make her never ask for a gift again. When I reached her house, everything seemed normal. Paula was her usual overbearing self, talking about how great this event would be for the kids and how we all needed to come together as a family. As the events went on, with everyone mingling and pretending like everything was fine, I couldn't keep it up any longer. I stepped into the middle of the room, called for attention, and pulled out the DNA test. I'll never forget the look on Paula's face when I told everybody the truth. My husband was livid. He grabbed the DNA result from my hand and read it multiple times, unable to believe it. The room went silent. I could feel every single pair of eyes on us. My heart was pounding as I continued telling everyone about the DNA test and how the results had confirmed what I suspected for so long. I laid it all out, how Paula had manipulated not only my husband but also the two other men into believing they were financially supporting their own daughter under extortion money. Paula, of course, immediately started denying everything, overwhelmed by the exposure and their undeniable truth. Paula's daughters broke down in front of everyone, admitting they knew the entirety of the truth. They were not biologically related to their father but had gone along with their mother's manipulation because they were promised money and benefits. One of her daughters started to cry, saying that she felt trapped by Paula's lies and that she had never wanted to hurt anyone but was too scared to speak out. By the time the truth came out, Paula was completely humiliated. She tried to deny it all, but it was clear to everyone that she had been caught red-handed. She went from trying to explain her way out to getting very defensive, but the damage was already done. Nobody, and I mean nobody, started to believe her. The fallout from this was swift, very very swift. My husband Owen immediately cut ties with her and is now in the process of suing Paula for fraud and emotional distress. As for me, I'm still processing everything. My husband's hurt, obviously, but he hasn't said much since the confrontation. I'm giving him space, but I'm not sure where this leaves us in the long term. Update number 5. Okay, I can hardly believe I'm typing this, but here's the final update. I've never imagined my life would turn into something like this, but here we are. So, after the whole confrontation at Paula's events and the fallout from the truth coming out, things have taken a very, very dramatic turn. Owen and the other two of her exes sued her. Now, Paula is officially in jail. Turns out her elaborate con had gone on for so long that it was enough to land her in serious legal trouble: fraud, manipulation, financial crimes. Basically, she had been using the money she extorted from my husband and the other men for years just to go about funding her lifestyle, and she was caught. It's honestly like something out of a bad drama series, but it's real. She ended up begging for help and actually reached out to my husband and me, asking us for help to get her out of jail. She sent desperate messages, apologizing for everything, saying she was sorry for the lies and manipulation. She claimed that she had made some mistakes, but that we were still family, and that we needed to help her because she was sorry. Look, I get it, people make mistakes, but this was far beyond that. She had not only manipulated us for years but manipulated her own daughter into this mess. And so, when she came begging for us to help, I had to make it very clear, it's too late for that. I told her point blank that what she did was unforgivable. I could not trust her, nor could I ever consider helping her after everything she's done. My husband didn't say anything when I told her that, but I could tell that he was on the same page. For my husband and me, it's been tough. At first, he was pretty mad at me and actually really mad. He was angry that I had told him about the DNA test too late, that I had kept it from him until I confronted Paula. And I get it, he felt blindsided, like I should have told him the truth instead of letting him find out in such a shocking way. At the same time, I honestly thought it was the best way to handle it, but I never expected it to cause such a strain on our relationship.